The Trooper 01 is a moped-style e-bike from Yadea, a relatively new brand to the US e-bike market. So, can a new brand introduce a bike that checks all the boxes for your next moto e-bike? Well, take a ride with me and let's find out. Hey there pedal peeps, Mike here and welcome to Electric Bike Report. Today we're taking a close look at the Yadea Trooper 01, a moped-style e-bike from a brand that's recently caught our attention. We've started seeing Yadea at industry events, things like Eurobike and the Electrify Expos. Well, this bike's been with us for a bit now and it's time to share our thoughts with you. But first things first, before we dive in, do us a solid and hit that like button and remember to subscribe to our channel. It really does support the work we do and lets us spend our time and money testing these bikes to bring you reviews that hopefully help you make a wise choice when spending your hard-earned cash. So, what's the big deal about the Yadea Trooper? Let's break down what this bike offers and what makes this bike stand out to us. Generally, we have a few things about each bike that really stand out during our extensive testing. In the Trooper's case, it was the 750 watt motor, full suspension design, and the classic aesthetic. First off, the Yadea has 750 watts of power, producing 80 Newton meters of torque. Now, you might be thinking there's tons of e-bikes that come with a 750 watt motor, that's no big deal. And you'd be correct. However, in the Trooper's case, we found it to be one of the more powerful moped-style e-bikes we have tested. Next up would be the Yadea Trooper's full suspension design. Up front, the Trooper has an RST double-crowned, non-adjustable front spring fork with 80 millimeters of travel. On the rear end of the suspension, Yadea went with a solid steel coil spring mounted between the underside of the saddle and the bike's frame. During my time spent on the Trooper this week, I found it to be a comfortable ride. Design-wise, at the heart of the Yadea Trooper's curb appeal is the classic lines. Yadea went for that retro moto-inspired look, and we think they nailed it. It's a nod to cafe bikes of the past, but with all the benefits of modern-day e-bike tech. Features like bright moto-style LED headlight up front, an elongated saddle, and BMX-inspired handlebars really drive home the Yadea Trooper street cred. Yadea spec'd the bike to fit riders from 5'3" to 6'4". However, we want to point out that we found the bike to be smaller than the average moto-style e-bike, so just be aware of that if you're over 5'10". So while those things stood out most to me on the Trooper, let's run through all the things Yadea equipped this bike with. The motor feeds off this massive 960 watt-hour battery, and the electrical system is UL 2849 certified, which is great to see from a company newer to the US market. The Yadea Trooper only comes in one universal size and color, black, but as you can see, it fits the personality of the bike well. The tires on the Yadea Trooper 01 are CST 20 by 4 inch wide tires that sport a knobby tread pattern. Bringing those tires to a halt is the Tektro Hydraulic disc brake set. The Yadea brakes have 180mm rotors paired to a 2-piston caliber, which we found to perform well in our testing. The Yadea comes with both front and rear fenders, which during my testing did a nice job of keeping the water on the pavement from painting an unwanted racing stripe on my face and back during my rides. A single-speed drivetrain with a 38-tooth chainring that I'd like to see bump up in size in future iterations, as it currently lacks in creating any meaningful speed. The flat metal pedals, rear-mounted kickstand, and very convenient frame-mounted cargo box finish off the overall commuter aspects of the Trooper's design. Jumping into the cockpit, the Yadea Trooper features a duotone black and white no-frills display that actually offers great illumination and visibility in direct sunlight, and that's something not all displays can say. So it was nice to see. There's a thumb throttle on the right-hand side right next to the display. Black rubber velo grips paired to a BMX-inspired handlebar design made for a nice moto-style riding position. The folks over at Yadea advertised this bike as weighing 73 pounds. However, our scales tipped at 79.62 pounds. And finally, when it comes to payload capacity, the Yadea Trooper can support a total payload of a hefty 331 pounds. So you can bring your gear along for the ride. That wraps up some of my initial thoughts. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty details and talk about our numbers we got out of the Yadea Trooper 01. First is our EBR standardized brake test, where our tester Griffin gets the bike to 20 miles an hour and then applies the brakes to bring the bike to a full stop. We then measure the total stopping distance to get an idea of the bike's braking ability. In order to get consistent accuracy, we will run this brake test 3 times and then come up with the average stopping distance. The Yadea Trooper 01 scored a respectable total stopping distance of 21 feet 3 inches, which falls below our current average across all classes of e-bikes at 21 feet 9 inches. The Yadea Trooper's Tektro Hydraulic brake set, coupled with 180mm disc rotors and a 2-piston caliper, is known throughout the industry to provide good braking in safe distances. Here at EBR, Tektro brakes are one of the most common brake setups we see, and we consistently see good results. Additionally, because Yadea opted for Tektro brakes, this makes finding service for the braking system easy, as nearly all bike mechanics are familiar with the setup. Alright, let's shift gears and head over to our testing track where we put the Yadea Trooper through its paces in our speed test. Alright, so for the speed test, I'm starting at my natural pedaling cadence, and as you can see on the speedometer, it's about 10.5 miles an hour. So I'm going to kick on the Eco mode, which is level 1 pedal assistance. And there it is on, and as you can see, and maybe hear, there's no change. Now I know from riding this bike all week that PAS1 actually kicks on and levels out around 8.5 miles an hour. So let's go ahead and move on to level 2 and see how that feels. There you go, you can kind of hear that kick on, and it's picked us up to 13.9, 14 miles an hour. Yeah, it's peaking at 14 miles an hour, which is really nice. And let's go ahead and kick on to high. And as you can see, that really gets things going. This is a fun pace to ride at. We are peaking right around 19.6, 0.8 back and forth. So there you go. Levels 1, 2, and 3. And we are up to 20 miles an hour. Alright, so this bike does have a throttle, so let's go ahead and do a throttle test. On your mark, get set, go. It's picking up. And we are at 20. So, to recap those speeds, without any motor help, I was pedaling about 10.6 miles an hour. So Eco mode didn't offer any assistance, and I remained at 10.6. Moving up to mid mode, we saw 14 miles an hour, and finally, we saw 19.8 miles an hour in high mode. You'll notice that in Eco mode, the pedal assist makes no difference in my speed, as it tends to offer pedal assist around 8.5 miles an hour, and that just falls short of my typical pedaling. This led me to primarily use Eco and mid mode, which honestly made the ride more engaging and enjoyable, especially on a moto-styled e-bike like this. A noteworthy point here is the Yadea's top speed of 20 miles an hour. However, with some enthusiastic pedaling, you can surpass that. The essence of the Trooper's speed capabilities can be summed up in one word: quick. Whether it's accelerating, climbing hills, or just cruising around, this bike is about swift and efficient movement. However, it's not without its quirks. The throttle response could use some refinement. Currently, the thumb throttle sensitivity doesn't really affect acceleration. There's a noticeable delay before it kicks in, and then it's full throttle, lacking any finesse for precise speed control. It's more of an on-off switch than a graduated throttle. As is, most people won't be pedaling much, so that would be a smart way to help people dial in their ideal speed and just get more use out of the PAS settings. The bottom line is that Yadea Trooper is designed for speed, quickly transporting you from point A to point B, and in this respect, it certainly performs well. Alright, the range test. Here at EBR, we pride ourselves on our comprehensive testing approach, especially when it comes to assessing the range of our bikes. Yadea advertises a range up to 55 miles from its massive 960 watt-hour battery. For this, we conduct 2 distinct tests. The first in Eco mode to gauge the maximum possible distance, and the second in high mode to understand range under maximum power. Since we're only able to get 8.5 miles per hour in Eco mode, we opted to complete our low PAS range test in mid mode. At this setting, the bike provided effective assistance, allowing for speeds around 14 miles an hour, which is a comfortable pace for most rides. In our minimum test, we covered a distance of 44.81 miles, averaging a speed of 12.55 miles per hour over nearly 4 hours, precisely 3 hours and 57 minutes. Turning to the maximum range test, we cranked up the assistance to high, and here the bike achieved a total distance of 31.19 miles in a span of 1 hour and 47 minutes, maintaining an average speed of 18.2 miles an hour. So no, it didn't quite reach the advertised range, but keep in mind, we completed the test in mid-mode because eco mode didn't offer enough motor engagement. But let's be honest, slower conservative rides aren't how moto-looking e-bikes are typically ridden. With their high throttle usage placing more emphasis on the max power test result, the Trooper crushed it in that regard. Frankly, the 31-mile test result was awesome. It's one of the best results we've seen from other moped-style e-bikes, with batteries close to that 960 watt-hour range. So we give the Trooper overall good marks in terms of range performance. If I were backed into a corner and had to highlight just one awesome feature of the Yadea Trooper, it would absolutely be its hill climbing speeds. For our hill test, I'm going to pass you off to our dedicated hill tester, Justin, who took the Trooper up our hellhole test hill to see how quickly it could climb its third of a mile 12% grade.
Okay, we're out at hellhole with the Yadea Trooper, 750 watt rear hub motor. We're going to see how this does. So, through this first steep section, it's feeling pretty solid, right around 15 miles an hour, 14.135, 13. So kind of looks like it bottomed right about 12.4, 12.5 through there, so nice and speedy. Feels nice and comfortable, a little more compact than some of the others. I'll let you listen to the motor. We'll see how it does through this next punchy climb. Yeah, so blew through there, lowest was 13.1, and the motor, it sounds really nice. You can hear it, obviously, but it feels a little bit quieter than I would have expected. Somewhat of a high pitch, but not bad. And so let's go to the tape and see how this did. It feels like it did really well. All right, we are on the pedal test now on the Yadea Trooper, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing Yadea improperly. We're gonna see how this does, because I feel a little bit like Donkey Kong on a Mario Kart, and that's not a bad thing. This was just a little more compact than some of the other moped style bikes. And so you definitely don't want to be in a scenario where you have to pedal. My knees are almost hit my chest. So, but I gotta say, it's a single gear bike and it's flying up this thing like I don't really have to pedal much at all to get up. I think I hit 13 miles an hour on the lowest. On that steep section, 12.7. Like I almost could use more time so I could talk about it. But overall, I mean, you're not gonna be pedaling up hills. And when you do have to pedal, it basically feels like it's just giving you full power as if you're throttling. So if you want to look like you're pedaling, go ahead and pedal, but you don't have to. So we'll see how that did. It flew up there. We'll see if it's any faster than the throttle test as well.
As you can see, the Yadea Trooper dominates when it comes to ascending slopes. Throttle time was 1 minute 5 seconds with an average mile per hour of 16.7, and the pedal assist mode result was 1 minute 3 seconds with an average mile per hour of 17.2. Justin has put more than 160 bikes through their paces on hellholes, spanning various categories like road bikes, EMTBs, and commuters. Among all these contenders, the Yadea Trooper secured an impressive 7th place from the throttle test and 11th from the pedal test. It's a testament to its torque-filled climbing capability. Basically, the Yadea Trooper just rocks when it comes to climbing hills, making it an excellent option for those living in areas with lots of elevation changes. Its ability to quickly conquer steep inclines sets it apart as a go-to option in the e-bike market. All right, let's get back on the road for a couple of ride-alongs, focusing on how the Yadea Trooper handles both on and off the pavement. This is a moped-style or moto-inspired e-bike. And what that means is you not only get classically good looks, but you also get a slightly different riding position or geometry in this bike that you may not be used to if you haven't ridden one of these before. But don't worry, it's still a really comfortable bike. Now, I've vlogged over 100 hours in this bike, and I can confidently say that the riding position and overall ride quality is really good. Now, there is one caveat, and I'll get into that later. But first, starting with the handlebars, these are BMX-inspired or styled handlebars that can be loosened, and you can adjust the tilt either away or towards yourself. And then you couple that with the elongated saddle that these style bikes have, and you can really dial in a comfort level that works best for you. Now, Yadea says that this bike can accommodate riders from 5'4" to 6'4", and I'm right in the middle of that around 5'11", and I've noticed the bike feels really good. But here's that caveat: if you're on the taller side and you do a lot of pedaling, you might find that the pedal extension is not enough or a little shorter than you would need for comfortable pedaling. But let's be honest, you don't buy this bike because you plan on pedaling all day. You buy this bike to throttle and maybe max pedal assist with limited long-term pedaling. So that one caveat out of the way, let's get back to the rest of the bike. The bike's ride quality is really supported by the full suspension design. Up front, we have a double crown RST front fork that feels really good. I've had it on-road, off-road, bumps, potholes, and overall, it handles it all really well. Now on the rear, there is a solid steel coil spring that acts as a rear suspension. Now, while it does do an adequate job, this is not something you're going to feel in your routine riding. I've only noticed that I've felt it coming off of harder impacts than I would have expected to hit. Things like speed bumps, potholes, and impacts I wasn't prepared to take. Those larger impacts, you do feel the rear spring kind of help you out a little bit there. Now, these tires on this bike are CST 20x4" knobby all-terrain tires, or all-terrain style. Now, these do a great job of just adding to the overall comfort of the bike as they absorb most small imperfections in the road really well. Things like rocks, roots, cracks in the pavement. It just eats them up and keeps going, and it gives you that confidence that you really can take this bike off-road. Now, I should say this bike wasn't designed to be a downhill, single-track, crazy bike, but I think you know that. It's a bike you can get around town, cruise around with a big smile on your face, and in that area, it really does deliver. Now, the pedaling on this bike is initiating the cadence sensor to trigger the motor. So I noticed when I pedal this bike, I get about a full 360 degrees around before it kicks on, somewhere between half a pedal and a full pedal. But you do feel that motor kick on, and when it does, that's when the smiles start. This bike's got a punchy motor that really propels the rider, and it really gives you that moto feeling. It's fast, it's punchy around town, and it's a great bike to ride. So let's jump back in the studio. So the question on everyone's mind, is the ride comfortable? Well, after clocking in over 120 miles on this bike in just a week, I can confidently state that this offers a smooth and comfy experience, even for someone at my height of 5'11". Yadea markets this bike as being suitable for riders between 5'3" and 6'4". And while that's an optimistic range, at 5'11", I found the Trooper to be just too small to pedal, as the seat height is low at 29.3 inches. To put that into a visual, think Donkey Kong and Mario Kart. While it is possible to pedal, it's just awkward and you might look a little silly, especially for you guys over 6 feet. But it's important to remember that these moped-style e-bikes prioritize speed and style over pedaling ergonomics found in your traditional bikes. With its cafe racer aesthetics, this bike is designed for more zipping around with the throttle and not pedaling. The CST 20x4" tires with their knobby tread significantly contribute to the overall ride quality. That said, I noticed a tendency for the tires to slip a bit on wet surfaces, especially in corners. But I was able to manage this by slightly deflating the tires before riding on wet days to improve grip. Overall, if your heart is set on a bike that's built for leisurely all-day pedal assist rides, you might lean towards a road bike or a commuter. But if you're in the market for a fast moped-style e-bike that combines speed with sleek design for effortlessly city cruising, the Yadea Trooper 01 could be the perfect match for you. Yadea may be a fresh face in the US e-bike arena, but from what I've seen, they're making a solid first impression. For those considering the Yadea Trooper 01, you're looking at a speedy 750 watt motor that effortlessly conquers hills and accelerates with ease, boasting an impressive 80 Newton meters of torque. The design of the Trooper is a nod to classic cafe motorcycles of the past, blending those timeless lines with the perks of modern e-bike technology. Riding comfort is dialed in with the Trooper thanks to its full suspension system. The front RST spring fork, rear coil spring, 20 by 4 inch tires, and a high cushion elongated seat all combine to offer a smooth experience, whether you're out on a quick trip or a longer adventure. So, is there room for improvement? Sure, a few things like low seat height and awkward pedaling for taller riders, the motor efficiency of the minimum pedal assist, and finally a more modular throttle. But with all of that said, the Yadea Trooper still excels in delivering a blend of fun, aesthetics, and capability. It boasts a commendable range, it looks great, and all at a price point that's reasonable in today's e-bike market. That wraps up our review for the Yadea Trooper 01. Thanks for tuning into our channel, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys out on the trails.